Saturday, August the 26th, 2017, and once again I'm doing a local walk just over the border in Bedfordshire, Arlesey to Letchworth, which is free walk 233. It's around 15 miles, which is quite a distance for me considering I haven't done a walk for a month for one reason or another. Last walk was the Cornish adventures and they weren't that long. So it'll be a good test for me today on the old hip, see how it responds. I'm now 9 months post-surgery. Physio's told me to stop doing all the micro rehab exercises and just carry on doing normal daily things, because I was getting a bit of hassle with the hip flexor. But that seems to have settled. Now I've stopped doing the micro exercises, which is interesting. Anyway, this walk today is being done in very grey, humid conditions. Probably the worst kind of day you could expect for walking. Horrible, apart from a torrent. This is not good weather. Sticky, muggy and grey cloud. The only positive is that no rain is forecast. The reason I'm not going to do the full 15 miles today will be revealed later. This walk actually ends very close to where I live, so there's little point in continuing all the way up to Letchworth, which for the most part will be an urban section anyway. So it's around 11:45. Hope to have this walk done by around 6. First thing we encounter coming out of the station on the left is this information board about the Icknield Way, which basically follows the River Hiz, which is the river that passes through my hometown of Hitchin, hence Hitchin. There are full comprehensive notes about this walk if you just Google the title of the walk, SWC 233 Arlesey to Letchworth. I'm now following the Icknield Way for a little way anyway. This being a nature reserve known as Glebe Meadows ahead of us. Information panel here about the Glebe Meadows. Like I say, all this information can be obtained on the walk notes or via Google. So there's a little point in me really filming it all. Interesting notes here about Arlesey Bridge. Quite a unique structure, which we'll have a look at in a second. And there you go, there it is. Dwarfed by the A507, which is a relatively new road behind it. In fact, Arlesey is expanding massively as I speak. Lots going on here. Little village that used to be famous for being one of the longest villages in the country, if not the longest, because it was all based on the high street, but that is changing rapidly now, and it will not be long before it joins up with Shefford. Got the Hicker or the Hiz here on my right, and a number of wooden benches by the riverside as well, which as you can see are Lillian A. Billows originals. Entering Arlesey Old Moat Nature Reserve, where you can see amongst other things a kingfisher apparently. Get those down near me in Ickleford. As you can see now, as we approach last week of August, an abundance of berries coming into fruition. Another day, another death. very early on in the walk, here we come across a little shrew. Not sure how he's died, but anyway, he is dead. And the old green fly there is making full use of his breakfast. I must say, this walk is well served by benches. Very pleasant scenery. Only spoilt, the tranquility is only spoilt by passing trains, which are in fact very close. Just through that gap there where you can see the house roof. You can see just how close to the railway line we are. Sun's coming out, which makes life more interesting. Albeit it's very mild and sticky. Bit of sunshine helps. Wonderful. Passing through this forest. Well, hardly a forest, but a canopy of silver willow. I think it's silver willow. Fantastic. I hope someone's coming to collect that bag. As we approach this metal gate, to a right here, by this barely visible yellow topped footpath marker. I forgot my secateurs today. And there you had an example of just how close to the railway we are. Right, coming out of the woods into more open countryside. Lovely purple coloured plant here, as usual, well loved by the bees. Not sure what it is as usual, but sure someone will be able to tell us. It's obviously a plant that loves riverbanks, damp environments. The small weir referred to in the text that I'm about to cross, and believe it or not, there's actually a few spots of rain after that little burst of sun. Let's hope that doesn't turn into anything more than out into open farmland, which hopefully from memory this walk mainly will be, as opposed to cattle. Don't fancy any encounters with them today. There's the, if I remember correctly, that's the old rubbish dump over there, that mound. Field beans on my right have done their job with the old nitrogen and what have you. Not sure if that's a red currant bush. Look a bit poisonous to me, but could well be remnants of a red currant bush. Don't often see them out in the wild, or perhaps you do and I just don't see them. In fact, with these apples here, this looks like a derelict fruit field, fruit orchard. On this particular section towards Meppershall now, looks like the farmer's got a bit tight to this footpath, not left us much, and this will be particularly cumbersome when the rains come in the winter. Luckily it's dry today, but will be problematical if the path remains as it is. This next section is much better as we head towards the village of Lower Stondon. And I've seen a number of light planes landing over there on the right. I think that's Old Warden again, Shuttleworth, where we were the other week. Meppershall water tower is just visible. These little bridges across the brooks now are relics of the past really, because there's never any water in these things. Water table so low, population so high, and the drain on the water resource is so great that anything other than the main rivers is dead. Walking past a housing estate, military defence one. Not sure if it still is, or if these houses have now been sold on to the private sector, but clearly the old fence remains. Yeah, still looks like it is. Some kind of old pillbox here as well. So there you have it, RAF Henlow. The old dog track, where I've been on a couple of Boxing Day meets in the past. Take the left just after the Greyhound Stadium, where we once again encounter ploughed fields now. Definitely an autumnal feel coming on. As you can see, on a bone dry day like today, this path is still damp and muddy, so it could be an issue in winter. Such a shame that so much of our native fruits that also have medicinal properties as well get wasted. Another job for the young offenders, I suggest. Certainly what I'd do under Brexit. Meppershall water tower now coming into full view. Okay, do a right at the yellow topped footpath marker. The footpath hasn't been reinstated here by the farmer. Clearly this field has been freshly ploughed. So having come from the corner of that field over there, along the edge of this field, with a pond beyond those trees, now turning left towards the water tower, up there ahead of us. Further example of what could be foraged. Certainly do it in Eastern Europe. And I've noticed Eastern Europeans doing it over here. You're good on them. But why we will let the stuff go to waste, I don't know. So there's two jobs for the young offenders: collecting litter and the fruit, wild fruit in the autumn. We can certainly be self-sufficient if we need to be. We were before, when our population wasn't quite as high, mind, and we can be again. Another example of what appears to be land grabbing by the farmer. Very tiny footpath left for us, and this is a footpath not permissive. Field edge boundaries, I certainly hope that the government continue to fund those, the sort of 10 metres or so around all the field edges, because that's been a real boon. Wildlife has really sprung back. Thinking about it, those planes may have been landing at Henlow, not Old Warden. Maybe Henlow makes revenue from lending itself out to private planes. Not sure about that. But yeah, would make sense, because Old Warden's a bit further on yet. Here is a classic example of a field boundary being left to nature. Wonderful. Amazing collection of wild flowers here. Ragwort, various others. Albeit that they're coming towards the end of the season now. Interesting piece of scat there, as old Packham would call it. He would probably be able to identify that as well. But it's not dog. Certainly out on a limb. Just a small piece there dumped by some animal. Yep, Chris Packham would certainly know what that is. Not sure if you can see that, but you've got the old wind farm over there towards Biggleswade. Just about visible in this hazy cloud. Sun's still trying to break through, but it's not getting there. Very interesting plant there. It's about 6 foot high and all there on its own. A few more examples actually. No idea what it is. Likes this soil, clearly. Just in some kind of little campsite going on up there, just as the sun does manage to break through. There is the three-arm footpath marker. You can very easily miss that. My onward journey's ahead, according to the text, not left into the farm. And that campsite I've just seen may be farm workers, I'm not sure. Only 3 or 4 of them there, so could be where they live, collecting in the harvest. Coming out onto the fringes of Meppershall. So there's the old water tower on the left. Onward journey is across this freshly ploughed field again. One slight issue with this time of year, I suppose, the paths are never rolled, so got to take them as they come. So why the farmer didn't go along the sides of the footpath as opposed to doing the whole length of the field and clearly ripping the footpath up beats me. And if he is going to do it this way, the way he's done it, because you can clearly see from the weeds and flowers that there was a proper footpath mark there, he should have reinstated it, ploughed it, rolled it. Village of Meppershall, as the wind picks up, as you can probably hear. There's the opening hours for Roger's Bakery, for those that need to know. He's also got a vacancy for an assistant. St Mary's Meppershall. It's coming up 2 o'clock now, so although I was aiming to have my lunch at Shillington, that's possibly another hour away. Don't know if I can hold out that long. Church is locked today. A very pleasant Meppershall Manor House, which has its own entrance into the church, you'll note. Very pleasant. 2:30, lunch has been had here at Meppershall. Couldn't hold out. 4 hours since breakfast, so time to refuel. So thank you Anne Cecilia Long for your hospitality. No dates given there, but thank you for providing the chair. Onward and upwards now. I now note, having just walked past Rectory House here, we're back on the old Bunyan Trail. That was those horses, not me. As you can see in the distance there, the Bunyan Trail ties in with where we were on some parts of the Harlington walk the other day. That's the Green Sand Ridge there in the distance, I believe. Now there's a very pleasant warm breeze. Distant views of Chiltern Hills over there. Well, the Chiltern extension anyway. Pegston and Barton. There in the very distance you can just make out the Cathedral of the Chilterns. That's Shillington. And over there on the very right you got Sharpened Clappers, if I'm not mistaken. Then rolling into the Greensand Ridge. Very pleasant view. Yeah, fantastic bit of ploughing. Look at that. Absolutely GPS accurate. And unlike the other joker, he's left us a decent footpath. So it is possible. Where I'm now stood, you get the whole range in. Much better views than I anticipated for Bedfordshire. Not an area you normally associate with good views, and it's right on my doorstep. Always grew up as a lad dismissing the area. But there you go, live and learn. So thank you Thomas G for the walk. And then behind me, I think that's Sandy Lodge over there with that aerial. It's the only aerial I'm aware of. Then obviously rolling into the Greensand Ridge. There's another example of the footpath being lost. Just about visible. That's the footpath to the right referred to in the text. Pretty poor really, considering farmers get paid to maintain these things. Fair dues though, there has just been ploughed, so I'll give them the benefit. If I was to come here in another couple of weeks and see the footpath still missing, it'd be a different story. So from Sharpened Clappers, follow the skyline. There in the distance you've got Pullock's Hill Water Tower, and in the foreground another pretty impressive church. Of which there's another one in this village over here. Let's see if I can get in on it. There. So 3, including the cathedral, 3 pretty impressive churches in a short distance. Okay, turning right through gardens, as mentioned in the text, the most interesting of the 3 options you have, by all accounts. Interesting. Some nice honey being developed over there, as you can hear, passing through a sheep field. A couple of interesting sheep there I've never seen before. Got black and white faces. Look at that, very bizarre. Bit Dolly the sheepish. Aren't happy. Followed me over. Quite bold for sheep. Look at this one. Looking through a wooded area. Green woodpecker there. Clearly busy looking for his favourite food of ants. Don't think it's a fully grown one because it's not red and green. pure laziness. Look at that. Probably got old paint tins in it by the sounds of it. Anyway, it's in the corner of the field, just as we're coming out before Shillington Church. There's Shillington's less famous church, the congregational one, and ahead its more famous brother or sister. Well, there she is. According to Sir John Betjeman, the Cathedral of the Chilterns. All Saints Church, Shillington. Now, interestingly, as you can probably hear, absolutely loads of house martins up there. They're loving that ledge. Incidentally, the swifts appear to have gone. Haven't seen or heard of swift for about a week, which is about in keeping with their departure. But they are the earliest of the leavers. Now this is what it's all about, the views. That's east, or northeast. Just see sandy aerial in the distance, green sand ridge and what have you. As you can hear, hundreds of house martins here really have made it their own. That would be north, I should think. Pullock's Hill Water Tower in the distance. Interesting, because the house martins are only interested in the north facing and the east facing eaves. I thought that would have been the other way around, but there you go. Maybe they follow it around in the day according to the sun. They're going for the warm faces. Quite amazing. Further views of the green sand ridge, the view north towards Pullock's Hill. The old groundsman would choose today to cut the grass, wouldn't he? Interfere with this commentary. Anyway, Sharpened Clappers and the Chilterns that way. Sundon Hills. Further distant views of the Barton Pegston range. The old school building, now a house. Well, surprisingly, this church is open. What an amazing roof. That's the entrance door that I just came through. The bell tower, which clearly has been added on later by the brickwork. Lovely bit of leaded window. Closer view of that interesting roof. Full history here of the church. But as I say, please refer to the walk notes or Google if you're so inclined. So here you've got the old school, erected in 1856. Opposite the church in good old Anglican style. There's a footpath there that will take you on the shortcut to Pirton, but I'm still sticking with the main walk. There's a parting shot of the Cathedral of the Chilterns. So we're now coming off the Bunyan Trail, leaving Shillington behind us that way. Continuing across this meadow. Got it. Sparrowhawk, I believe. At the very maximum range of my lens. So another parting view of the cathedral. Lovely. Believe it or not, 4 hours into the walk, this is the recommended lunchtime stop for those that like to sit down and have their grub. The Musgrave Arms has food every day except Monday, apparently. But like I say, 4 hours in, if you're getting a train after 10, even if you manage to get an 11 o'clock start, that's a pretty pacey walk to get here. Shillington's probably a better bet, and a more attractive one. The pièce de la résistance is the garden at the back. Must be some damn good reason. Probably the easiest walking of the day so far, just on the edges of the Shillington Manor estate. Barton Hills ahead. Pegston Hills over there. Not the Barton Hills, that's what I just said a minute ago, that's wrong. Shame about this hedge line really, because for the whole of this little bit of the walk it obscures the views towards the Pegston Hills. And as you can see from this soil here, presence of chalk. Approaching Pirton, denoted by its water tower there. Pirton is a village currently under threat. Lots of properties up for sale here at the moment. Reason being that there are several proposed new housing estates planned for this village, which will absolutely decimate it. It's hardly changed in years, and now thanks to the immigration levels that we currently have, people flooding away from London, white flight, places like North Hertfordshire are absolutely getting hit. Pirton, South Beds, or Central Beds, one of those that's taking the hit. And there's case in point, Pirton Action Group. So this is what Pirton's all about really. It's motte-and-bailey, medieval village. You can research this on the walk notes or of course Google. We came out here as school kids, all part of the local curriculum. History. Cracking example on our doorsteps of a medieval village. Up here is the bailey. Not the bloke that plays for Man United either. And round about the moat, or motte. The lovely church at St Mary's, Pirton. One of the wardens was just locking up. She locks up at 5, so although she offered to let me in, I thought no, I won't go inside. Done enough churches today. Passing the village pond at Pirton, which I see has some goldfish in it, rather bizarrely. Information panel showing us the parish of Pirton. Now about to go along the ancient Hanbridge Way, which takes us to Ickleford, where I'm currently living. Interestingly enough. And there you go. Hanbridge Way, being a bridle way, is very popular with cyclists, and indeed I use it to link up with the Chilterns cycleway, which enables you to do a kind of 30-mile circular out to the Sundon Hills via Pegston and so forth. Very nice ride actually. Interesting concrete seat here in the shape of a, I believe it's meant to be a plough. Parting views of the Chiltern Hills extension, the back end of the rubbish dump where they used to landfill. It's now been obviously landscaped, and a new crematorium's been installed up there as well somewhere. I haven't been up there yet. Hopefully I won't be going up there until it's my time. Still, you never know. Now on the outskirts of Ickleford. Now on footpath 15 into Ickleford, and here you have relics of former glass house industry that used to be quite abundant around this area. I've seen muntjac deer in these greenhouses, or former greenhouses. The old hand pump on the upper green. Village sign. There's something I didn't know. It was presented by Jazz Bowman, who are the local millers. In fact, they're on their way out of the village. There's plans to redevelop their site into flats and houses. But this was presented in '86, as you can see. There's a village parish boundary, just like the one they've got in Pirton. And in front of us is the old village school, built in 1848, very close to the Anglican church nearby here, or C of E church. Now this village school is about to be moved as well. Obviously parents are in uproar about this because it's going to go up to the north of the parish boundary here to accommodate growth up near, yeah, to accommodate growth up near Lower Stondon. Shame. Lovely little village. It's got a good reputation, this school. Here's the bus yard to where my journey began this morning. Some interesting facts. Quite a nice bus yard as bus shelters go. Onward journeys over the road there down Icknield Way. Very interesting. The back of St Catherine's Church. You can see it's 1.25 miles to Wilbury Hill, and probably another mile beyond that to the station at Letchworth. I'm not going up that far, as I said earlier in the walk, but let's get cracking on the bit that I am doing. Over the River Hiz again, on a bridge made from railway sleepers, and I would not be surprised if these are railway sleepers from the old motte-and-bailey line, as we call it, hitching to Bedford, which we're about to pass by in a second. Apartments here are where I'm currently ensconced, just the other side of the river. And this plantation of willow has just been sold. There was an elderly resident of Ickleford who died aged 100 last autumn, and this was all her land, Mrs. Parker. And the children have put the lands on the market. As you can see, the willow there took a hit the other night. Thunderbolt or lightning did that. But yeah, these are used for cricket bats, so I'm told. Footbridge there provides access into the apartment where I presently live. And yeah, this river, very interesting, full of brown trout that have escaped from the fish farm, so I'm told. And the other day I saw a battle between a swan and a couple of dogs. People bring their dogs down here to get water, and there must have been a bust up. Luckily the swan survived, and I do believe it. I saw it the other day with its mate and 6 fledglings, so that's good news. So this bridge here and the accompanying embankment with it, it's one of the few relics left of the old motte-and-bailey line, which my mum says she went on just before it closed. I think it was in '61. I think it was single track line. Yeah, they used to call it the old motte-and-bailey line. And there you can see reference to Mrs. Parker. This is Jerry's Hole, and it was a borrow for the building of the railway. Which yeah, passed alongside here on this raised embankment. Still follow the path and walk up on it. Not much of it left now. There is a bee's nest there. They're not so busy today, but I bet there's some lovely woodland honey in there. And here is Jerry's Hole, which smells quite badly at the moment. Water level's quite low, which is again reflecting what I keep saying about the water levels up here. There may seem to be water there, but in the winter months it's a lot higher. So even though we've had quite a lot of rain recently, it's just having no effect on this. So yeah, it's just a sort of smelly bog hole at the moment. There is a footbridge now over the main Great Northern Line, King's Cross to Edinburgh. In days gone past, you used to better just walk straight across here, straight across the railway. So the boat status, BOAT, of the Icknield Way ceases at this bridge. And I think what was happening in the past was that people were just driving their cars up here, or vehicles, as you were able to do, and just parking on the line and committing suicide. hence the Samaritan calling card there, even now with the bridge. That's the old flour mill, Jazz Bowman, I spoke about a few minutes ago. That's going to be demolished in time, replaced by some hopefully decent quality flats and houses. Over there you can see the start of the Cambridge Arch. That arch has been open just a few years now to allow trains to whiz down to King's Cross, because in the past they had to go across 4 tracks, as you can see, to get onto the Cambridge branch. That caused the trains to slow down on the main line, so it was always the plan to do it, but it took a long time to get to that point. Anyway, it's done now, and life is a lot easier getting to Cambridge, and for those travelling up and down this line. You can see what's left of the lavender field over there. That's where I'm terminating my journey, but it's not very purple at the moment because they've cut most of it and it's at the end of its season. And here comes a hole. No. That was a Grand Central train, which I didn't capture. Through a bit of a tree tunnel section here, past what used to be Hitchin's Sewerage Farm. Come out into scenery typical of what we've been seeing today, and you get a much better view of that new railway arch I was telling you about. And ironically, look at that, Mr. Branson gets everywhere. He owns the trains going up the Great Northern Line, and there's one of his balloons, Virgin Experience. And before too long he'll be sending rockets into space. Anyway, coming back to the railway curve, done quite a good job on that. Blends into the horizon quite well, considering it's only been a few years settling in. But downside is at the other side of it, which is part of Hitchin, the fields are going to be developed. So you've got the edge of the industrial area there, and lo and behold, they're going to infill the area the other side of that curve with houses, I hear. Bad news. Like I said earlier, North Arse is taking a hell of a battering from this immigration issue. And there you have a Cambridge train. Looks like a little train kit, doesn't it? Part of a train set. There's evidence that this field has only just been cut. Certainly wasn't cut 2 days ago when I walked up here. That's the old blade trailer. And over in the distance there, another class blade. And behind me you've got a combine on the go, cutting the beans. That's a New Holland, I think. Don't think that's a class. And as I say, it's cutting the old nitrogen beans down. Looks like they make full use of the old combine, because this field of nitrogen beans has been cut as well. So they must cut the corn and the nitrogen beans and the rape if there's any around, all while they've got the one combine hired out. I assume they hire it. Seems to be the way most people operate these days. There's the old tea hut, but the lovely lilac glow of the Lavender has almost ceased. Sunflowers are still there, 50p a piece if you want some. I think they shut the gates on this next week after bank holiday weekend, which is this one. In the summer they also have outdoor cinema here in this field, 1 or 2 films. So that's it, that's me terminating here. The reason I'm not obviously going up to Letchworth is because I live 500 yards from this place, so no point going up to Letchworth, which for the most part the rest of the walk is a gentle climb up to around 90 metres past the Wilbury, which is a decent enough pub, and then on to the railway station. So, you know, it's a good, what, another 1.5 miles from here. I'm currently on 14 miles almost exactly, and 5.5 hours. So not a bad day's walking for my first one in a month. Real colour to it at all now. By all accounts there's been loads of Chinese up here bringing their wedding gowns and taking wedding shots in amongst the lavender. It's been in the local paper. Interesting, they love lavender. The old shop and tea room is, eh? Not in the garden shed where I sat the other day. It's interesting, didn't realise that. Small field of lavender here, and although it's nearly past its best, it still gives off a lovely odour. So there we are, that's it for another year. Apparently they stop next week, so tying with the school holidays I guess. But I've just been talking to a bloke spraying the lavender there, and bit of a mixed season really. I was commenting on the lack of bees that I've seen on it this year, and he agreed with me, so that's a bit worrying. Also there's not a great deal of wasps around at the moment either, also worrying, and I know that the wasp societies are monitoring them at the moment. Anyway, lovely walk, lots of variety, a long walk, not too taxing, but I might feel different tomorrow. Let's see how the old hip bears up, but so far so good. Pleased with that. Till the next time.